There's no one in this area with Giovanni. There's no one that's chasing him. He's by himself.
We have learned a lot of new details about what apparently happened in the moments leading up to a teen's disappearance during a vacation in Florida. We're talking about Giovanni Pelletier, what he allegedly said to fellow passengers as they drove from I-75 to what traffic cameras showed him apparently doing. We are taking you through the timeline step by step as the teenager's family tries to grapple with their sudden and enormous loss. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. More than a week after 18-year-old Giovanni Pelletier was found dead in a retention pond right off of the interstate, Florida law enforcement officers are revealing what has been uncovered so far in their investigation and why they still don't have concrete answers as to what exactly happened to Giovanni. Now, for those of you who are new to this story, real quick, here's what we know so far based on reporting, that back on July 31st, Giovanni was with his mom, Bridget Pelletier, her fiancé, and his siblings on a trip to Englewood, Florida from North Carolina. Now, Giovanni, who turned 18 in the spring, was interested in apparently reconnecting with his birth father's side of the family, and so he made plans with at least one cousin to meet up while he was in the Sunshine State. In the early morning hours of August 1st, we're talking around 1:30 a.m., three men arrived in Englewood from Brevard County, clear on the other side of the state, to pick up Giovanni and take him with them back to Brevard. During a news conference on Tuesday, Manatee County Sheriff Rick Wells made a clarification. This is important. While one of the men, identified as Luttrell, was Giovanni's paternal cousin, the other two men were not. They were identified as Zach and Jalen. They are believed to be Luttrell's friends. Wanted to clear that up. Now, not long after Giovanni left that night, his mom and other family members say they got some very disturbing text messages. But they didn't see them because they were asleep. When Bridget woke up, she realized that Giovanni was missing. And the last text that he had apparently sent her, his mom, just said, "Mom, help." He'd last been seen on the side of I-75 at State Road 70 in Manatee County. This is where Giovanni's cousin apparently said the teen took off into the night. Sheriff Wells recognized how much this ensuing week-long search impacted the family and made that clear during his news conference.
I do want to say that our prayers continue to go out to Bridget, the mother of Giovanni, and the entire family as they struggled during this very difficult time, and we pray that blessings are bestowed upon them, and we're here to hopefully give them some information that will give them closure at some point.
Now, the sheriff provided a much firmer timeline of what allegedly happened not long after Giovanni apparently left with his cousin. Take a listen.
I think it's important to go back and start from the beginning. So on Thursday, July 31st, there's communications between Giovanni and his cousin, Luttrell Hearn, about Luttrell picking up Giovanni, who's in Charlotte County, and taking him back to Brevard County where Luttrell lives. They're trying to figure out the details. At 5:41 p.m., Luttrell texts that he's going to have to use his grandmother's car, which is a white Malibu. At 8:30, they're still texting each other. They text about smoking weed. Giovanni says that I haven't had a smoke in a while because of court stuff going on in North Carolina. And he goes on to say, I definitely need a smoke. At 10:08 p.m., Luttrell, Jalen Washington, and Zachary Cummings start heading toward Charlotte County. Zach Cummings is the driver of the white Malibu at the time. During interviews, Luttrell tells detectives that not long into the drive, they start smoking weed in the car, and Giovanni starts tripping. They stop the car at an unknown location along River Road before they got to I-75 because Giovanni needed to use the bathroom. Luttrell says that Giovanni is acting out and raging before getting back into the car. They continue driving north on I-75, and at this point, they're about 26 miles away south of State Road 70. At 1:55 a.m., Giovanni sends his mother a text saying help. At 1:56 a.m., he sends another message that says help, followed by me. Jalen says Giovanni was tripping, telling them, "I am a demon, and I will wreck this car," and says he will kill them all as he tries to open up the door while the car is still moving. This happens while they're in Manatee County, close to State Road 70. Zachary, the driver, pulls the car over onto the side of the road on the shoulder, the northbound I-75 on the east shoulder of State Road 70. Jalen and Zach are in the front seats, and they hear that Giovanni has a knife. And we know that he always carried a knife. He had two knives. He had a folding pocket knife, and he had a blade, but this knife was still in the sheath, never took it out.
So Giovanni is allegedly, supposedly starting to panic in the back seat of this car, this Malibu, possibly a reaction to the marijuana that he ingested, and could be something else. Police are still trying to work out the exact details on that. By the way, they're still awaiting toxicology results. But Zach, Jalen, and Luttrell, they claim that Giovanni basically freaks out and then starts running into traffic.
They said that Giovanni gets out of the car and begins running southbound in the southbound lanes of I-75. They see him in the middle of the northbound lanes and almost get hit by a truck. This is the last time they see him. He left behind his backpack and cell phone, so they took that and placed it onto the side of State Road, or I-75 at State Road 70 at the entrance ramp on the east side. At 2:26 a.m., Luttrell calls his grandfather to let the grandfather know that Giovanni got out of the car. At 2:27, Luttrell calls Bridget, Giovanni's mother, but there's no answer. We know that they continue northbound on I-75. We have them stopping at the Flying J truck stop in Hillsborough County off the I-4, and you can tell by their phones that they eventually make it home to Brevard County.
I know, just a wild story, but this is one that we wanted to cover. This is one we want to stay on top of. And the reason we can do that, the reason we can really do a deep dive into stories like this, is because of the amazing support we get from our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. This is America's largest injury law firm. This is a firm with over 1,000 attorneys. You know why they have so many? Because they win a lot. They have recovered over $25 billion from more than 500,000 clients. In the past few months, a client in Florida received $12 million after the insurance company offered just $350,000. Out in Pennsylvania, a client was awarded $26 million. That is 40 times the insurer's $650,000 offer. Another client in Pennsylvania received $29 million after being offered only $500,000. And even if you think your case isn't worth, millions of dollars, why not start a claim and fight for what you deserve? Morgan & Morgan makes it so simple. You can start a claim from your phone in just 8 clicks. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/LC Sidebar by clicking the link below or scanning the QR code on screen. Something interesting to note here is that, yes, the cousin calls Bridget, doesn't get an answer, lets his grandfather know what's going on, but based on everything we've seen so far, they don't apparently call the police and they don't stick around to make sure Giovanni's okay. They allegedly just drive back several hours to Brevard County. Now, some of Giovanni's family and friends, they noted on social media Tuesday that the cousin had a duty of care to Giovanni and that he shouldn't have abandoned him. Now, the second time that Luttrell calls Bridget, this is hours later according to the sheriff's office, she picks up.
At approximately 6:50 a.m., Luttrell calls Bridget again. She answers, and he gives them gives her the information on what transpired that night. At 7:13, Bridget calls the Manatee County Sheriff's Office to look for Giovanni on I-75. She says from the 911 call that we collected, I received some missed calls from my son this morning. He was being picked up by a relative, and I was told that they left him on the side of the highway. That there was some type of an altercation and a knife was involved. She asked if a deputy could do a wellness check and make sure that he's okay.
And Bridget gives the information she has so far to a 911 dispatcher.
She states, so I'm getting this from people who were there. He said they were in the car and I guess they had given my son some weed. And my son doesn't normally do any drugs. I guess they had given him some weed and then he started to freak out and said he wanted to get out of the car. And they were like, hey, just calm down, thinking maybe it was the drugs he was taking. They kept saying, calm down and everything will be okay. And then I guess he got out of the car to go to the bathroom, and that's when I received the text saying, Mom, help, in that time frame, she said. And then he said that he continued to freak out and didn't know what was going on. They left him behind on I-75. Bridget is heading northbound on I-75 to try to locate her son. A deputy responds to that area, but finds no pedestrian on the interstate.
Okay, and so around this time, that is when Giovanni's backpack with his cell phone inside is found. But I'll tell you what, it was the act of a good Samaritan that actually sent Bridget, again Giovanni's mother, on a bit of a wild goose chase. Take a listen.
At 7:21, a truck driver who was checking the load on his truck, it's a sod truck, pulls off in that same area on the east side of I-75, northbound, sees the backpack, picks it up. He travels to Tampa with the backpack. Bridget sees that the phone is moving, but does not know that it's a truck driver that actually has the bag and has the phone. She eventually calls Tampa PD, and an officer responds to the area where the truck driver was doing some work, recovers the cell phone and the bag.
Now remember, all of this information is being relayed from one jurisdiction to another, so there's a lot of agencies being involved in this. Luttrell had traveled from Brevard County to Charlotte County to pick Giovanni up, then allegedly left him on the side of the road in Manatee County. So there was a lot of coordination that had to happen, and according to law enforcement, Zach, Jalen, and Luttrell, they were all cooperative during the course of this investigation so far.
At 9:28, Charlotte County Sheriff's Office opened a missing person case. And we also learned that Charlotte County reached out to Brevard County Sheriff's Office, and they were instrumental in interviewing all the passengers in the vehicle and as this investigation unfolded. They voluntarily give Brevard County the vehicle, the white Malibu that they were in. Brevard County processes the vehicle and finds no foul play, no blood, nothing, no evidence whatsoever inside that vehicle. Charlotte County reaches out to us once again to check to see if Giovanni had been admitted to any hospitals or possibly was arrested. And there was no sign of Giovanni in our system. On Monday, August 4th, Charlotte County requests the assistance of the Manatee County Sheriff's Office as they search the area that Luttrell says they dropped off Giovanni on I-75. They do an extensive search east of the interstate in wooded areas on both sides of State Road 70 and find nothing. On Tuesday, August 5th, Charlotte County comes back to Manatee County along with a volunteer team that have good cadaver dogs. Also, the Charlotte County Aviation Unit was flying overhead. We had 3 of our detectives assisting them with searching the areas that they wanted to search that day. After about 4.5 hours, they told our detectives that they're not really sure that Giovanni is in this area. Now, why is that important? We know that he got out of the car on River Road before he got onto I-75. So as investigators, they're starting to think maybe he never made it to State Road 70. Now, I can't speak for the Charlotte County detectives. I can't speak for Sheriff Promell, but they know the backpack was there, but there's no sighting of Giovanni in that area at this time.
And something else to point out here, during this very, very critical period, it's not just deputies, it's canine handlers, it's drone operators, it's helicopter pilots. They're all looking for this 18-year-old. They're all looking for Giovanni. And his family had launched search parties as well, spreading out across the state to cover every possibility. But unfortunately, and a sad turn of events, and something that we mentioned on a previous sidebar, Giovanni's body would be found back where it all started, on the side of I-75 in a retention pond.
On Friday, August 8th, at about 3:15 p.m., Manatee County Sheriff's Office receives a call about a body located in a pond right off of I-75 at the exit ramp to State Road 70. We learned that a friend of the family had been searching the area and had located the body. I sent my entire homicide team out there along with their sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and major to process this scene. The medical examiner investigator also responds to help with the processing of the body.
According to the Manatee County Sheriff's Office, it is believed that Giovanni's body had only recently floated to the top of the water, so that's why searchers hadn't seen him at first glance. But not long after the remains were found, despite authorities not officially saying it was Giovanni, they did release information saying there didn't appear to be any bodily injuries.
We do a deep x-ray, a scan of the body. The ME does that night. There's no signs of any trauma to the body. There's no indication that he was shot. There's no indication that he was stabbed. There's nothing at that time that helps us determine cause of death. On Saturday, August 9th, detectives and crime scene techs go back out to the scene. They conduct another thorough investigation of the area, search of the area. Our drone unit also flew over the pond and the surrounding area, but didn't find anything of any value. On Sunday, the District 12 medical examiner performed an autopsy of the body. Preliminary indication was no signs of trauma or foul play, but the cause of death is still undetermined.
So what do we have? Giovanni's remains, they were finally identified using dental records, and deputies interviewed the men who'd been inside the Chevy Malibu that night, and sheriffs in at least 2 different counties said the Brevard County family has been helpful and responsive to the investigation.
My detectives reach out to Brevard County, who help us reach out to Giovanni's cousin, Jalen, Latrell, and Zach, and we request that they interview again with us. They do so freely. We respond to Brevard County, and we interviewed the 3. They give us the exact same story that they gave Brevard County. They also agreed to come back to Manatee County to help us pinpoint exactly where they pulled off the side of the road and where Giovanni got out of the car.
And I will tell you, in a groundbreaking development, according to Sheriff Rick Wells, deputies were able to pinpoint Giovanni's location on traffic cameras. Although the picture is grainy and unfocused, Sheriff Wells says Giovanni can be seen in traffic, at one point even almost getting hit by a truck.
Point him out right here. He's coming eastbound now. He's walking back westbound. And there's a concrete barrier right here. And down here is where the pond is. So then we continue to check cameras, and we get lucky at a Lowe's, which is located on the west side of State Road 70. We have a camera that's pointing at the embankment now that he comes down at 2:19 a.m. Play that, Ben. I want you to stay focused right here. Now that's a steep embankment. It's coming down there almost an uncontrollable sprint. If you've ever gone down a hill, you know what I'm talking about. But the pond is right here at the edge of that embankment. I mean, the important thing that I want you to see, there's no one chasing him. There's no one around him. In fact, when he's coming down that embankment, the vehicle is 2 miles away. So there's no one in this area with Giovanni. There's no one that's chasing him. He's by himself. And what we don't know is what happened when he hit that pond. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. The death is undetermined. So we know that we don't have anyone that comes down that embankment after him. They don't look for him. He's there, we believe, until he was located by the family friend on Friday, the 8th. We really don't know what happened once he got into the pond. And once again, I think anything that I say would be pure speculation. We're still waiting for the ME to determine the cause of death, and we're also still waiting for the toxicology. So we don't have all the answers. We know this is the last sighting of him that night.
So, for now, investigators are awaiting toxicology reports to come back, which could take the next few weeks. But from there, the cause of death could potentially be determined, which would obviously provide a lot more answers to this puzzle. And to be clear, no charges have been filed in connection to this case. We'll keep a very careful eye on it. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.